Good afternoon, everyone. It's the weekly stream that anyone can watch, but only members may comment on. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me this afternoon. We have a really good group of stories to discuss. It's so nice to see so many of you joining me here. I see a few new members have joined. Welcome. Let me see the last one there. Hold on. I saw it come up when I was... Joel. Hey, Joel. Welcome. We have a lot of, as I said, we have a lot of really great stories to go over. The way this works is that we'll do a little bit of an introduction. We'll give everybody a chance to tune in. Then I'll go over the 3 stories of the day. And then for the final 10 minutes of the stream, you may ask me anything that you would like. All right, that's how, let me turn the volume up a little bit there. Sorry, I was filming 2 videos planned for tomorrow. I have a DC female characters video planned for tomorrow, and also my spoiler review. Oh, it's 30 minutes. I got to get to editing that. So what I like to do is I like to see where everybody's watching from. So where is everybody tuning in from today? I like to give everybody a little shout out if I can. Who we got here? Hey, Brendan. Oh, waffles, feel better. Renee is in rainy North Carolina. Hey, Dom. Oh, I see you're a Harley Quinn fan. Let's see here. Yusuf's in class. Oh, you're in class in Vancouver. Shh. Let's see here. Hey, Luciano, thanks for joining. Alex, nice to have you here. Matt's in Paris. Oh, that's lovely. You're always in such, I love that you're in Paris. Casey's in a beautiful Northeast Ohio. Gabriel is in Houston, Texas, where it's cold. Oh, hey, Dom, I'm glad you're officially a member. CJ's on the Upper West Side eating Whole Foods. Oh, that sounds very good. Let's see here. Oh, so many people here. Daniel's in Livingston, New Jersey, eating Ruffles potato chips. Oh, that's an oldie but a goodie. Hey, John. Hey, anime lover Nicole. Nice to have you here. Landon. Let's see here. Alex is watching the dog. Me and Dolly, the dog, watching from Yorkshire. Hey, Dolly. Let's see here. Weston Ero is bracing himself for work in Illinois. John is sick in Hawaii. Oh, how horrible. But if you're going to be sick somewhere, that's the place to be, right? Nicole's in the Netherlands. Luciano is in Madrid, Spain. Hey, Dylan. Breno is in stormy Rio de Janeiro. That's very atmospheric. I like that. Laura is home today in Columbus, but able to log in. Excellent. Okay, it's so nice to have so many of you joining. We're going to talk about these stories. And then, hey, Harrison. Hi, Tyler. So I will, since there are so many people on these big streams, I'll reference your comments while I'm talking, but between each story, I'll give you guys a chance to weigh in. All right, so let's get down to business. Oh my goodness. All right, story number 1. Now, hey Chris, now when we're first talking about what would be the final reckoning of Birds of Prey, right? I mean, everyone's gonna have an opinion on it, right? But at the end of the day, what are the deciding factors that decide if this worked out for Warner Brothers or not, right? And so I said it would be the Rotten Tomatoes score. Sorry, that's my heat kicking on. It would be the Rotten Tomatoes score, the cinema score, and the box office. The holy trinity of movie judgment. And we have our first number. That's the Rotten Tomatoes score, which came online today. It's going to change a lot. Hey, Jackson. I was surprised. It's 89% right now. I didn't think it would dip out of the 90s so fast. I think that's kind of weird. It's only like 5 or, let me check. I forgot. This is the one stat I didn't bring up. Hold on. I have all the other stats here ready to go. I was surprised that I thought it would stay in the 90s until Thursday, tomorrow, like late tomorrow. So the way Rotten Tomatoes works, okay, is that when the embargo lifts, only the people who the studio have invited in advance to watch the movie can rate it. And that's, very grateful for that opportunity. So that's how it works there. But then, because Rotten Tomatoes has expanded how many critics that they have there to try and diversify how many critics are up there, a huge wave will hit on Thursday night when the movie becomes available to the public, for those critics who don't get invited to the press screenings. So that's why you see these, you didn't used to see vacillation like that. It would be pretty close to where it came out when the embargo lifted. So you got to check it for the next couple of days. But I don't think it's going to get really low, to be honest with you. Okay, so it's got 55 fresh and 7 rotten. I mean, that's very, very strong. I suspected it would be that strong. I thought it would be in the 90s because of the initial glowing things that we saw when the social media embargo lifted. So right now it's at 89%. No matter what happens, I don't see this thing slipping below the 80s. That would just be too much. I mean, people would have to really turn on it, and I just don't see that happening, especially because of the kind of movie that it is. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think you're looking at a Rotten Tomatoes score probably somewhere in the high 80s. It'll probably maybe even go back up again a little bit, but where will it settle? I would say probably somewhere again in the 80s. I would think maybe even high 80s. Now, this is a huge win, most of all at this point, for Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie has proven that she is a good producer and that she, at the very least, is a critical darling, right? She consistently is now being nominated for Oscars, for Academy Awards, which is tremendous. And I didn't think she was deserving of the last nomination she got, but I think she is very deserving of her Bombshell nomination. She's excellent in that film. And now she was able to deliver a really strong Rotten Tomatoes score for Birds of Prey. That makes her very valuable to a studio. Studios like their movies to be well received by critics and the media, right? So she can feel very good about that. This is right up there with her I, Tonya score, which was also right now 89%. Now, of course, I, Tonya didn't do particularly well at the box office, and neither did Shazam. Shazam is really where it looks like Birds of Prey is kind of leveling out. Shazam also had a very high Rotten Tomatoes score. That finished at 90%. That's incredibly high. But, you know, right now, so Birds of Prey, as I said in my box office report on Sunday when I was talking about how Birds of Prey will do, all it has to do, hey Thomas, all it has to do is beat out Shazam. It just doesn't want to be the last, DCEU opening. That's the only thing it doesn't want to be. Otherwise, I think it'll be in good shape, especially with such a strong, it would have needed a bigger box office debut if it had a lower Rotten Tomatoes score, but this Rotten Tomatoes score does it a lot of favors. So that's very, very good. So the other highest DCEU score is, I loved Shazam too, by the way, Nicole. I thought Shazam was phenomenal. And I was very disappointed that it didn't connect with audiences. It was also darker and grittier in tone, which I felt might have ultimately hurt it, you know, looking back, you know, hindsight's 2020. But I thought Shazam would do much better than it did. It did not, and we'll see how Birds of Prey does. I mean, right now, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to finish on the Rotten Tomatoes stuff. So Wonder Woman is the other high-scored DCEU movie. That was 93. 93! That's amazing. And also, Captain Marvel, I checked Captain Marvel, and that only got a 78. That ended up with a 78. Because let's be honest, we all know that movie was kind of weak. I mean, I think it's enjoyable, and it made $1 billion, but it was a little weak. I think 78% is very fair for a Rotten Tomatoes score for Captain Marvel. I don't remember where it was when the embargo lifted, though. So we'll see where Birds of Prey ends up. But I think it's obviously getting out of the gate in very, very good shape. Huge win for Margot Robbie. I'm sure Warner Brothers is quite pleased, not only with the Rotten Tomatoes score, but that they hired Margot Robbie and listened to her, right? Now the box office, of course, will be a really important factor as well. Now, what's going on with ticket sales? I've seen some articles. You guys have been sending it to me that ticket sales aren't good for the movie. I don't know if that's the case. I think they're in line with what the movie is predicted to make. It's predicted to open around what Shazam did. I mean, hopefully, if for those of us who want to see DC do well, it will be a pleasant surprise. Zeester says today was the opening for the movie. Zeester's coming out of the Middle East there, and it was only half full. Yeah, I don't see I'm surprised at how low the sales are. It should be difficult to get a ticket for Thursday night at this point, and it's not. However, that's where this wonderful Rotten Tomatoes score could help. People might be like, I didn't think I was going to go, but maybe I should. You know, when you combine the high Rotten Tomatoes score with the fact that, like, there's been no big movie for 2 weeks now, people might be like, all right, I'll go. So that's really important. So remember, we're keeping an eye on the Rotten Tomatoes score, where it ends up, the cinema score, which is the audience score, and then also what the box office number is. I do feel that this is like a little bit of, and I'll talk about this in my spoiler review, I think it's a little bit of a reaction to Joker. Joker, of course, only had a 68% Rotten Tomatoes score, but then again, it went on to make $1 billion and also have the most Oscar nominations of the year. So, you know, Joker turned out great. But as far as critics are concerned, they weren't too happy with it. And I think that a lot of them are really responding. You know, I think Birds of Prey is the anti-Joker movie, and I think a lot of people are like, this is the DCEU I want to see, so I'm going to support this. I think that's what critics are saying. And so I'll be curious to see what happens with the audience. The audience really now it's the audience's turn to weigh in. the media and critics have had their say. Now it's up to you guys. So what do you think? We'll take a break here. Hey, Harry. I know you guys are eager to get in on this conversation. Is the movie rewatchable, Oscar? I'd say it's as rewatchable as Suicide Squad. It's very much like Suicide Squad. And I mean that in both the positives and the negatives. I mean, I should have said that a different way. I mean it in both the negatives and the positives. The Aquaman RT score, Mika, was low. It was like in the 60s. It could have legs. It really depends what the audience cinema score is and what the box office is. It could have legs if that's the case. I mean, I think Little Women is a phenomenal movie, and that movie has struggled to get to the century mark, which I think is horrible, because it's a really good movie, Little Women, and I'm so concerned about women's films. Like, I have problems with Birds of Prey, but I'm so nervous about women's movies this year. I would love the win, to be honest with you. I'll take it, right? Like, I think the movie's problematic, and I hate to see movies that pretend to have representation and don't succeed, because then the narrative, they get to keep the narrative that they were representational when they think they weren't. But I just want women's films to do well, so I'll take it. I would hate for there to be a horrible trend where all these women's movies do well. I'm planning to do a video about it, but I have to wait to see what Birds of Prey's box office numbers are. So what's going on? How do you guys feel about this? I saw someone say, "Don't kill my buzz." That's funny. I don't want to kill your buzz. I hope you have a great time. Let's see here. Jackson, I'm nervous for women's films this year because Birds of Prey and Mulan have been getting so little attention online. I'm hoping it's a Captain Marvel situation where her videos didn't do that well, but yet she still went on to make $1 billion. But I'm scared. I think Wonder Woman seems to be the only really strong bet. And I do feel Wonder Woman is the best realized of all the characters, to be honest with you. Although Black Widow looks great to me. Silver Robin, I don't think you're going to get Black Canary and Green Arrow. I think you'll get Black Canary and Huntress before you get that. I'll be making a video about that. Charlie's Angels did deserve more, Gabriel. It wasn't a bad movie. I agree, Colby. I think it's very well positioned, as I said, for Valentine's Day. Particularly Galentine's Day. Let's see here. Jack, but I recommend Skittles. Well, I got to try them on Sunday. I'll tell you what I think of Skittles then. Joseph says, I was going to see this movie no matter what. Gabriel says, Little Women still made over 140 million worldwide. Yeah, but that's really disappointing that it's such a fabulous film. If you, basically, just so you know, if you can't hit the century mark stateside, that's considered like pretty bad. Like your movie should hit 100 million if you're anything that's like, if you got anything going on, unless you're like this, like no one wanted The Farewell to hit 100 million. The Farewell, the Awkwafina movie did like 30 million or something is like amazing. But for something like Little Women, which is a big studio picture from Sony with it's very glossy, they spent the money on it, they certainly advertised the heck out of it, it should be able to hit 100 million. There's no post-credit scene, Matthew, in Birds of Prey. There is a voiceover gag, but there's no visuals, and there's nothing that talks about any other movie or anything at all. I don't think this movie is a hard R at all, Matthew. Hey, Greg, I don't think that, I actually think it's pretty tame, except for something the Black Mask does, which I'll talk about in the spoiler review, which I felt was not necessary for the movie and I thought was too much. I was actually quite shocked that it was in the movie, but that's the only thing, and you still don't see anything. Lisa, you will be very happy with Journey Smollett. She's fantastic. Yeah, where is the Atomic Blonde sequel? That was great, right? Let's kick a few more comments, and then I got to get to... yeah, Wesley, Little Women will get to 100 million. It will, but I'm sad that it didn't get more. No, Dallas, that's funny. There is no Little Women end credit scene. That's hilarious! But they folded the sequel into the first movie to make this one, so they can't do it. It's so funny. Let's see here. Colin says, can you see a PG-13 Birds of Prey cut down the line? No, because it's so infused in the DNA of the movie. I don't think you could. And I don't think... I'll talk about it in my spoiler review. I don't think the movie's funny enough to lose the edge. I wish it was more comedic. Just like I said with Suicide Squad, should have had a comedy writer working on it. They should have hired one for this. All right, so that's the first story of the day. All right, so you guys there'll be an open question period at the end, so you can ask me more Birds of Prey questions then if you'd like. But don't worry, I'm not going to give any spoilers away in this stream. That's not responsible. All right, By the way, side note, some people are like, oh, Grace, you've been trying to spoil Birds of Prey. I saved Birds of Prey from being the Private Parts movie, picture movie, and they took that out of there, thank goodness, because I put it online. That was a favor for the film. You know, it would not, if that had been what they had done, I think that they would never be in the position they are today, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. So, you're welcome. All right. So that's the first story of the day. The second story of the day is that Bob Iger's awfully chatty on his investor calls, right? So what an investor call is basically every quarter the Wall Street sizes up how a company's doing, and they decide what they should do with the stock. Do they recommend that you buy it, hold on to it, sell it, etc., right? So Bob Iger and every major company will get on an investor call and they'll say, this is what we think is going on. They'll try and spin it, or they'll play up the successes and they'll downplay the bad things, or they'll just own up to it. You know, when Bob Iger was like, yeah, Fox movies did poorly, my bad, but don't worry, it's going to turn around. So that's kind of like what an investor call is. So Bob Iger, because he has all these like fan-friendly properties, everybody pays very close attention to his investor calls. And he rewards people for it because he drops the information. So on the latest one, he was like, let me tell you about the Disney Plus streaming service. So in just a couple of months, it launched only in November. This thing's already up to 26.5 million subscribers. It launched with 10. Remember, it had 10 in the first day. Everyone was like, oh my God, it's so exciting. And 26.5 just a few months later is pretty impressive. That means they're continuing to sign people up. But considering there are 300 million people in the United States, although many of them are family accounts. Like, for instance, my account counts for 4 people. But still, there's more households than 26.5 million, which means that a lot more people could sign up for this. And it's only starting to launch worldwide. I know what I said in my, I was so excited in my Disney Plus Marvel trailer reaction that I was like, who doesn't have this? And a lot of people outside of the United States were like, me, because it's not available. And I felt very bad for you. But I think that's why these other shows are delaying so late, because they wanted a show at launch, which was The Mandalorian, but then everything else is going to be held until I think this is available for most of the globe. So don't worry about it. It'll be available probably by the time you need it to be done. And it's so cheap. I mean, I know a lot of you like to set sail in Pirate Bay, but this is such a cheap service, and Disney is spending so much money on these shows. Why not sign up for it, right? Okay, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier actually is in August, so I don't know why in their own press release they said fall. That was ridiculous. Then The Mandalorian will hit in October, so it looks like they're going to have one major show at a time, right? Because I don't think these have that many. You guys are pointing out, James is pointing out that Netflix has 61 million subscribers in the United States. So they're almost at half in just 3 months. Netflix has got to be sweating that boy. But I think you could have HBO, Netflix, and Disney Plus, no problem, right? Grismeyer saying only 10 million subs in the US for HBO. That's interesting. HBO is such quality entertainment. I wonder if that's just like HBO Now subscribers and doesn't count people who have it through cable, because that would be maybe the case. Because HBO has a lot of really good stuff. Hey, MoseTube. All right, so Mandalorian in October, and then WandaVision in December. Oh, we got to wait till December for WandaVision, but I'm so excited. So they're coming later this year, and that's very good. And I'm glad to see that they're finally going to start getting their momentum, right? Because we're like, The Mandalorian ended, and I think a lot of us were like, what now? And so I think Disney's like, hold your horses. It's going to be amazing. And I think it will be. I think this will be very, very strong. John, the Harley animated series is right now on DC Universe. It should become available for purchase once it wraps. I think it's done or almost done. But I think it'll probably be eventually. Everyone believes that DC Universe will be folded into HBO Max, as it should be. I mean, everybody thinks that because it's obvious. But anyway, they're basically going to have more Star Wars shows, right? So Bob Iger was like, and we're making more Star Wars shows, even though some of them are on hold. And then also, there's like, we're making more Marvel shows. I think they said they have 7 in development. And it's like, that's too many. But, you know, Kevin Feige, he hasn't failed yet. But I think that's very exciting. Star Wars, Marvel. I'm curious to see if Disney proper can get a streaming show. You know, like the Prince Anders show, which is a spinoff from from Aladdin. And everybody's like, that's offensive. And it is kind of offensive, especially because they haven't greenlit Aladdin 2 yet. But, you know, Prince Anders isn't officially moving forward either. But it's very cool. 3 more episodes of Harley to go, John. That's taking too long. The Harley show is amazing, Nathan. I binged it in 24 hours. It's that good. I wish they had dropped it for everybody to binge because everybody would have consumed it that quickly. It's phenomenal. All right, so I think Disney Plus is in very strong shape, and that's an amazing fall season. I actually kind of like the weekly release schedule for these shows because they're so chock full of content each week that you really need the time to go over them. Like, I think I would lose my mind if they were binged. And I think that Disney is targeting families, and families aren't going to binge. I said Prince Anders, Andrew. That's the Scandinavian prince from Aladdin. So I think this sounds great. I'm very excited about it, and I think it's going to be really good. Also, some of you, I just saw somebody say about Gina Carano. Yes, Bob Iger said that there are going to be spin-offs from The Mandalorian, and they're hoping to maybe introduce characters in The Mandalorian with the intention in season 2 of getting a spin-off. So be very suspicious of any character who shows up in season 2. There might be ulterior motives. I'd maybe be down for that, but I don't want too many Star Wars shows. I want the Cassian Andor and the Obi-Wan ones that I was promised, but I want them to be good too, so it's tough. Hi, Kyle. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day, Chris Pratt. So this is a complex one. So Chris Pratt, he's been having a rough time lately. So, of course, he still is the star of Guardians of the Galaxy, and also, of course, the Jurassic franchises. But I'd say his star has tarnished a bit, right? For instance, recently it was his birthday, and nobody cared on social media. That's bad. I think at his heyday, he would have trended, right? It's not like it was Chris Evans' birthday, right? But he's in a tough place. I think that him being overly religious has been a bit of a problem for him. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with religion. Religion is great. I commend anyone who has a good relationship with whoever God that they believe in. But I think that Chris Pratt has been almost forceful in telling everybody that his religion is the religion. And that's where I think he really touched a nerve. Also, he apparently belongs to a church that's homophobic, which is unforgivable, I think, in many ways. I don't know why he didn't instantly quit the church instead of defending it. It's ridiculous. He also then had the very poor judgment to marry into the Schwarzenegger family. I don't understand why he would do that. It's like really doubling down on it, right? He posts pictures of crosses. And again, I have no problem with Christianity. I have no problem with any of that stuff. I think it's great. I celebrate Christmas. I made up my own prayer that I say at night. But, I do celebrate Christmas, and I, do believe in God. That's kind of where I am. But I don't think it's any of my business to mind anybody else's situation about religion, as long as they don't have a negative viewpoint of religion to the point where they hurt other people, right? But I mean, to be fair, Chris Pratt is kind of hurting other people, at least by, being a member of this church. So it's not good. So he's kind of struggling. He's got another Jurassic movie coming up, so that's good. But now yesterday, he decided that he was going to be in Music Fan had an interesting comment there. All churches are homophobic. That's kind of sad. Hopefully that's changing. I was very happy that Pete Buttigieg, hey RK65, RRK65. I was so this is a unicorn. For those of you who don't know, I rarely make political statements. So when I said they're like seeing a unicorn. So yeah, there's a little herd of unicorn moving through today's stream. I was very happy that Pete Buttigieg was doing so well in Iowa. I think he's a very good candidate. And I'm very happy to see that the United States embrace an LGBT candidate who's openly LGBT and in a wonderful marriage. As I've always told you, it takes the right person. Barack Obama was the right candidate. I think Pete Buttigieg is the right candidate. And it's the same thing for race-bending and gender-bending roles. If you have the right actor or actress, it'll work. Like Journey Smollett-Bell is the right actress for Black Canary, it turns out. That's right, Liberty Bell. Chris Pratt is kind of the new Kirk Cameron. That's interesting. So anyway, he's going to do a television show, right? So he's going to be not only starring in the show, but he's going to executive produce it. And that usually is the case with actors. When you get a really big name to agree to do a television show, they sign on as an executive producer. Not only for a little extra money, but also that means they get to have some say over what happens on the show. An executive producer doesn't have to do any of the work, right? But they can come in there and say, this is bad, like, I don't want to do this. I don't think this is a good way to go with the show, and they can veto it. It's basically, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. An actor who's an executive producer or something basically has veto power, right? Whereas Margot Robbie on Birds of Prey, for instance, is a full-on producer. This is going to be Antoine Fuqua directing. Antoine Fuqua is really, really sketchy. I mean, like, sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's really bad. Pete Buttigieg is not corrupt, Ethan. That is something that Bernie supporters are saying about him, which isn't true, which I have a problem with. I would just say, I know firsthand that people will like to make stuff up about you if they don't like you online. So I do think that Pete Buttigieg should get out ahead of this stuff and take it on, because I think some of these things are starting to stick. But let's see how he runs his campaign. And let's just see who the candidate is. It's literally only state number one. All right, so anyway, back to Chris Pratt. He is going to be teaming up with Antoine Fuqua for this. It's from the production company behind The Outsider, but no network is attached. So it's not like an HBO show. So that's a little underhanded to be like, oh, it's from the people who made The Outsider. And so the assumption is, oh, so it's HBO? No, nobody's picked this up yet. Now, of course, Chris Pratt got his start on Parks and Recreation, where the world fell in love with him on that show. He was great. So he could do well here. It's called The Terminal List, and he plays a soldier, which of course he did in Zero Dark 30, where he famously got himself into shape. And he comes back from a mission. He's like a Navy SEAL, and he comes back from a mission only to discover dark forces were behind the mission. So it's like a conspiracy show. And I have to say, Ryan Phillippe has done very well with, I think it's called The Shooter, right, on cable television, which is a somewhat conservative show. And that's had a real fan base. So this could be, I don't know if this is conservative or not, but this could maybe do okay. I don't think Antoine Fuqua would want to do a conservative show, but we'll see. All right, so those are the three stories of the day. It's 3:44. You may ask me anything you would like until, just till 3:55, 10 minutes. And then I must get back to Birds of Prey videos. Yes, Jackson, I'm also against communism and socialism, so it's weird that we have to discuss it in America. Stephen says Chris Pratt has the acting range of a log. You don't have to have a good acting range, though. I think it's okay. Some actors aren't. That's what a character actor is. A character actor has range. But I think that a star usually doesn't have any range because they consistently deliver what people like. It's like McDonald's. Alex says, Grace, do you think they should recast the role of Harley Quinn for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker? Well, they're different time periods. I don't think they're a match. I think that what Joaquin Phoenix wants to do with the role and what Margot Robbie wants to do with her role are just totally different, and they should stay separate. But they need a new Joker for Harley Quinn. It was weird. It was weird not having Joker in the movie. Landon says, who did your blowout last weekend? Thank you. I went to John Barrett. John Barrett Salon is where I get my color and my all my hair stuff done. Mika says, what will Rotten Tomatoes do for Journey Smollett Bell? Well, I think it'll certainly help her get more work. I think she's definitely going to be one of the people who comes off the best from this movie. And let's see how the box office is. That'll help her even more. Hey, Connor. I also like Yang, but no one's going to vote for him, unfortunately. I think he'd be a good VP candidate. Ethan says, Grace, do you think Margot Robbie should work with Kathy Yan for Gotham City Sirens? I do not. I personally do not. I would like to see us move on from this. I don't have any interest of revisiting this world. I'd like to keep the actors, but the world of the movie, I'm okay leaving it. However, if it does really well, I would think that obviously they would continue with it, and I would certainly feel that they should. I mean, we have to see the size of the audience for this. I would like Gotham City Sirens to be, here's the thing. I think you can be girl power by having a great movie. That seems to me what Black Widow is kind of doing. This was a little bit too feminism on its sleeve for me personally. Sander, yes, there will be a Lilo and Stitch live action remake, and apparently it's going on Disney Plus, which concerns me. Silas, I don't know. I mean, maybe Margot Robbie could stay on as a producer. I mean, I am very impressed with this Rotten Tomatoes score, but I think someone else needs to come on and help. James, no, those are real glitter bullets in the movie. She does not have lethal rounds in that scene. Alex, I'm not going to be doing a spoiler review for Sabrina because the audience just wasn't big enough for this season. I haven't heard anything about Dune, Alyssa. It's crazy. Waffles says, is the 40 to 60 million tracking too low for Mulan? Yes, it is. Considering we're Aladdin opened just shy of 100 million and Beauty and the Beast opened way above 100 million. It's very bad for Mulan to open so low beneath that. And especially as many of you are pointing out with the fact that China is basically taken off of the board because of the coronavirus situation. Alex, Wonder Woman 1984 Flashpoint. As I told you before when I reported that story, it's Flashpoint in that they're adjusting who's in the DCEU and what's going on in that world. I didn't say it was going to actually be the Flashpoint story. People just took that and misrepresented what I said. Hey, Jonathan, which people like to do. Thoughts on Minions 2? I didn't react to Minions 2 because it came out at the exact same time as the Birds of Prey. The Birds of Prey embargo release. So I was like, I'm not going to derail that video for this, especially because Universal has a very strict rule on their trailer reactions. So I did watch it, and I thought it was kind of annoying. I mean, I don't like that kind of annoying humor, personally. That's right, Jonathan. Lock and Key is on Friday. I've reviewed it already. It's an excellent show. You're going to have a very good time watching that. Mr. Elephant says, do you think Margot Robbie will have control over Harley in Suicide Squad? I think she will definitely be able to weigh in on how the character is portrayed, but I think she'll really listen to James Gunn. James Gunn undeniably has huge success with Guardians of the Galaxy, and also he has a ton of fans. So she's going to want that relationship to be good, and it is very good. He already said that she was the most talented actress he ever worked with, which is great for her, but I don't know why he would do that. I thought that was so stupid. Elizabeth Banks stood by him for Brightburn, right? She was like, oh, he's such a great guy, you know, nobody should say anything bad about him, and she like really supported him. And then he went around, turned around, and he was like, Margot Robbie's the best actress I ever worked with. And I'm like, Elizabeth Banks has been supporting you since like really early days in your career. And it was just, I thought, a mean thing to do. He could have easily said she's one of the best actresses I've ever worked with. See, James Gunn. Yeah, James Gunn, you know, I have a friend of mine summed it up best. She was like, I'm never seeing another James Gunn movie again unless it looks really good, and then I'll go. And I was like, I think that's how everybody feels about James Gunn. Cinephile JF says, how do you think the diversity issue should be fixed? I'm really tired of Zeester, that's funny, Elizabeth Banks got wifed. I'm really tired of Hollywood saying, oh, yay us, we did diversity, but yet not actually having any diversity. I think that they need to have strong leads, you know, like it's just like people calling out Marvel for always having the black characters as the sidekicks, except thankfully Black Panther changed that a lot. But, you know, they got to change that. That's why, you know, I hope that Monica Rambeau becomes a character very much in her own right. That stuff needs to be changed. That's why it was so great to see Into the Spider-Verse. That stuff's really important. So that's what needs to change. And so I think that, you know, these characters should have equal-sized roles. Gabriel, I think because they have a black actress or a half-black actress playing Catwoman, I think they're going to have to go with a Latina actress for Poison Ivy. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in my Gotham City Sirens video. Let's see here. We have 3 more minutes. Nina says, Parasite winning Best Picture. Do you see it happening? I think there's a small chance, but I think there is a legit chance it could win. I think that the rankings of likelihood goes 1917, almost for sure. Maybe Parasite, and then it's like a really surprise from the side. What do you call it? I'm sorry. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just saw somebody talking about Zendaya. Gabriel says, what about Zendaya for Poison Ivy? She can rock the red hair. I think Zendaya can do anything. She's a wonderful actress. I think she's incredibly talented. But she already played a race-bended, redheaded character, which I think is why she probably passed on Ariel, because she would have been a great Ariel. As I said, Zendaya would be a great anything, because she's just a great human being. But I think for Poison Ivy, I actually would go with Ana de Armas. She's got a Golden Globe nomination for Knives Out. Knives Out made a lot of money. I would get her. Hey, Carmelo, we only have 2 more minutes, but you just made it. Sean, So Damn Park from Parasite, I actually suggested for Hawk Girl. I haven't seen Euphoria, Noah, because it was just a little bit too much for me personally. And even Zendaya said, I know it's a lot for people. Not everybody has to watch it. And I appreciated that she said that. She got a boyfriend out of it, though, apparently. Let's see here. Oh, hey, hi, Aaliyah. Bob Iger didn't say anything specifically about Kenobi, about it, the timing on that. Mika says, how would you rank Black Mask with other DCEU villains? It's difficult, because I don't really feel like he's Black Mask. I would maybe say, like, Black Mask, I don't know, he seems more to me like a really cool Guy Ritchie character. Like he should have been in The Gentleman. Max says, have you heard anything on Godzilla versus Kong trailer? No, I think they're probably going to show I know a lot of work on it has been done. They might show something at the upcoming, the festival for, I think it's called CinemaCon. It's for exhibitors in Las Vegas. It's in March. So we might get something then. 1 more minute. Jack Brooks says, do you think the audience for No Time to Die will be predominantly white males? I hope not. I think probably. I agree that Lashana Lynch looks amazing in that movie. I'm very excited for her. I thought she really knocked it out of the park. She was like doing the best acting in Captain Marvel. She was acting circles around everybody else. She's just clearly a very good actress. I hope the movie does right by her. It seems to be so far. I didn't do a Fast and Furious 9 breakdown because the trailer came out too late for me to be able to do it, quite frankly. And again, Universal's a little tricky. Bye, Isaac. Oh, it's 3:55. All right, I must get on to these other things. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Wednesday streams are always for everybody, but only members may comment. And then if you are a member, there are actually 4 live streams a week. They are Sundays at 10:30 a.m., and then they're usually at around 4 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Plenty of coverage coming up the rest of this week. And then, of course, we'll talk box office for Birds of Prey on Sunday. And another stream for everybody who just joined. That's the next live stream for members is 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. Okay, have a lovely afternoon, everyone. Bye. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.